something, kind of witty for us to do for the intro here.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking,
Uh-huh.
what is a sequitur actually?
I'm not sure, but I guess a non sequitur would be the opposite of that. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. It's whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome back to the Vinyl Word Podcast. As always, I'm Steve Beach.
And I'm Brian Mayer. Hello.
We are back with How to Handle Your Boat, Side 2, the deuce. Just don't do a deuce while you're handling your boat.
You disgust me.
Anyway, sorry. We're on side 2 and want to continue to thank everybody for continuing to listen, being faithful. And so you can follow us on Facebook. And if you look at the episode summaries, there's always a little link that says text us. Just tap that and you can send us a text. We would love to hear from you.
Absolutely. And we are still trying desperately to be funny on X, as it's called now.
Desperately, yes.
At Word Vinyl. And we try to put up a joke every day or a couple of days based on a news story.
Right. Yeah. I just think it's funny. There was one news story that we did recently, and later that week it happened to show up on SNL Weekend Update. Not necessarily our joke, because that would be pretty cool too, but it was just funny that we had the same story that they showed us.
No, I certainly like the fact that us and SNL are looking at the same things and writing similar punchlines, but based upon your own perception of SNL, your mileage on that may vary.
Right. It's a far cry, but still,
Yeah.
It's just funny that we're finding those same similar news stories.
Agreed.
But anyway, before we get into how to handle your boat, let's check in with our good buddy, Charlie Cutler.
It seems to me that, oh, hello, this is Charlie Cutler. Let's just talk for a couple of minutes.
It hurts when I pee.
It seems to me that most of us are never quite ready for our emergencies.
That's what makes them emergencies,
However,
by the
there was
way.
one fellow
Unless you
I
love
knew who
matches
at
and
least tried to
gasoline.
be ready. I suppose he was an inventor or something. We called him Extra Power Perkins. At any rate, he'd figured out a contraption that won him the title of the lazy genius. Now, I don't know about the genius part of it, but I do
Later on, it was renamed the
he'd do anything
Zuckerberg.
to get out of work. When he bought his first car back about 1910, nobody had
The very
thought
first
up
car.
the electric
Fake
starter
news.
yet.
They didn't have
He
cars in
figured out
then.
another method that worked just fine. In the morning, if he cranked his car at home and it wouldn't start, then
Then
he
he'd
had
crank
ready a
himself.
complicated maze of pulleys and gears and cogwheels, all arranged so that his horse could pull on a long rope and that would turn the engine over. And it always did the trick. The horse was his extra
Sometimes.
Yeah. He
He
added
was
1
away from
horsepower
home
to
and
his car.
Start the car by hand
That was 2
cranking it.
horsepower.
Then he had a bicycle in the back seat so that he could ride to the barn and get his horse.
Or just
This time
ride
the
the
bike
bike
was
to
his
wherever you're
extra power.
going.
Uh-huh.
He told people his gadget couldn't fail.
So apparently
just
bike
because
racks
he
weren't
made
invented yet?
arrangements
Evidently
to
not.
have some extra power on hand. It seems to me that most of us need extra power in our daily life, some reserve energy to help
is
us
why man
solve the
discovered
problems that
coffee.
are too
Yeah.
big for us.
And the burgeoning energy
That's
drink
something
industry
worth
of the
considering.
early aughts.
Isn't it?
Exactly. Yep. Good old Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't realize those were that old. I mean, to talk about 1910.
Yeah.
Sheesh. Who knew? So we're on side 2 of how to handle your boat. Side 1 was a lot of fun.
Side 1 was long.
Yes.
Like one of the things that I realized in listening to the side 1, Steve, was that I don't really think the guy who's doing this understood the assignment. And what I mean by that is that he actually was presenting helpful information. He was giving you actual literal resources.
Okay.
Like these Here How To series, Here How to Bowl, Here How to Host a Dinner Party,
Right.
Here How to Scuba Dive.
Right.
All of these are just basically, they're supposed to be entertaining, barely helpful, and they're basically just a naked cash grab. Like this guy's trying way too hard.
Yes, he is.
And one, I appreciate it. But on the other side, I just imagine him recording, like spending hours of preparation, going in, knowing that it's within the length of time for a record. And then the guys who are in the recording studio who are listening with that gigantic analog table, like
Right.
as like master tapes are spinning.
Right,
in the back.
exactly.
And like they just like whisper to each other, should we stop him? And the other's like, no, the tape's too expensive.
I need more coffee. He's really boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, because on side when he goes on to the different places, different manuals and stuff you can order,
Yeah.
all these addresses. It's
and
like,
that-
who cares?
Well, no, like he was trying to be helpful, Steve.
Right,
He
I
really
know.
was like, and he put in time and effort. He researched this,
I know.
and he didn't have to. All they would have had to have done was give him Billy G's record.
Yes.
He would have went,
Make it like that.
yeah, again, and he would have been like, but you can't bowl when you're not in a bowling alley. And they
Right.
would have went, yeah, we know.
No, that's the whole point. All right. Well, you ready?
Steve, without further ado, let's drop the needle and get this record going.
The boat that requires no maintenance has not yet been invented.
Like a good diet
Yours
soda.
must bear up under blazing sun, dashing winds, waves, and even the depreciation caused by inattention while your craft is laid up for the winter.
Like me.
Today's wood, metal, and fiberglass boats require much less effort to maintain than those of 20 years ago, but they still need care.
Like a kitty cat.
If you lived
Aw.
aboard, you could promptly repair every blister in the paint,
Or in the sun.
every worn spot in your rub rail.
Just don't do that
But
in
most
public.
of us can only go boating occasionally and are tempted to put off needed refurbishing.
So quit your
Left
job,
alone and
divorce your
unattended,
wife,
hulls
and devote
can
yourself to
rot out
boating.
and fittings corrode. Even careful usage causes normal wear that must be constantly checked. And this, we might as well talk about money right now.
Dollar bills,
Makes
y'all.
boat owning expensive. It can, but it doesn't have to. If you are handy with simple tools and a paintbrush, own a small boat, and have the time, you can do all the upkeep yourself. But unless you are
You
an
do now,
expert
now that you're
mechanic
single.
or ex-sail maker, I
Oh,
cannot recommend
Excel maker, that's me.
you're
I
trying
can
a
make
major
columns,
overhaul on
rows,
your
and
engine
graphs.
There you
or
go.
extensive repair of a torn sail. Set boat budget money aside for such expenses. And if you have a big boat, have enough money, and don't particularly like manual work, why waste your time afloat on boat carpentry? Pay a boatyard to do it instead.
You have money to
Some
burn.
people, I find, spend too much time on maintenance because they feel it is part of boating. It doesn't have to be. There are many simple
Sure.
ways to make boat maintenance less of a chore and save money at the same time.
Such as don't
Let me
own
tell you about
one.
some of them.
Right?
First of all, let's go back to checklists. This will be one you will make up yourself to keep
Step
aboard.
1, high interest loans.
Each time you put your skiff or runabout in the water, take your cruiser from its slip or your sailboat from its mooring,
What
Check
what
it
is
over
this
for
thing?
any signs of wear.
I need a dictionary.
lines
know.
that need replacing or swapping end for end to minimize chafe,
Ooh,
spots
chafing.
that need a touch-up of varnish or paint. Write them down. Then when you've finished
And
your
never
sail,
paint them.
or the next time you go out, touch up the trouble right then. If you don't get it, it gets worse and requires more time and expense to fix later on, and might even endanger your safety as well. Never be old-fashioned about upkeep.
I'll save that for the bedroom.
Because old-time sailors had to caulk seams doesn't mean you must do the same with your craft of today. Instead, find out about rubber-based compounds for hull and deck seams.
Rubber caulks are
Perhaps you
very
can cover a
helpful.
leaky deck with
Okay.
fiberglass. See if plastic hardware might not be lighter and better on your racing sailboat. Ask your paint store about the new extra hard varnishes for finishing bright work areas, where you want the fine, natural surface of the wood to show through.
Yeah, you'll know it's extra hard by the
Your
tattoos
dealer will
and
also stock wood
insecurity.
preservatives that prevent the wood boat's bane, dry rot.
Dry
Wood cutting
rot.
costs keep areas of varnished wood to a minimum, since they will need more attention and a number of coats.
They get
And-
cold.
Yeah, and
Some
rain
of your more
jackets, sweater
expensive marine
vests.
paints and varnishes, however, will last much longer than ordinary products and save you much time and expense over several years. Epoxy-based paints and similar compounds, for instance, can now provide plastic hard surfaces for topsides, decks, and cabins.
He's
For
such a
better
romantic.
footing on slippery decks,
Where?
try
where-
mixing in a
where
little
gripper slippers?
pumice with the paint. A mildew preventative can be added to paint for cabin and locker interiors. Install vents in all closed spaces so that fresh air can always pass through.
Plan ahead for those Taco
You live
Bell
on
lunches.
salt water or brackish areas where grass grows rapidly on your boat's bottom.
Why do
Talk
weird
to
things
local
always grow on
sailors,
bottoms?
boatyards,
I've
and
got this
paint
saying
stores
on my.
No,
about
not
their
here,
favorite
Steve. No.
anti-fouling
Okay.
paints. These poisonous coatings fend-off barnacles, Teredo borers, and assorted
Barnacle
growth.
Bill the Sailor.
But different paints seem to work best in various waters. Anti-fouling paint is a saltwater essential, however.
Is that like painting chickens?
Barnacles
Or
never
again-
read about
Yes, it
so-called
is.
maintenance-free hulls and will grab hold of a new fiberglass hull just the way they will with a wooden one. Good bottom paints are very expensive,
They take your
so
bottom
ask
dollar.
the skipper who's used them
Little buddy.
before buying them yourself. And don't overlook the handy new cans of spray paint.
For Banksies.
They are now available in standard colors, spar varnishes, rust inhibitors and oils, silicone waterproofing compounds, bilge cleaners, and a variety of other
Bilge?
useful mixtures.
Yeah, like beer
They
and
help
drinks.
make preventative maintenance easy, and minor touch-up repairs can be so quick that there's no longer a good excuse for putting them off.
Unless you're drunk.
Inquire concerning the new epoxy glues that are both tremendously strong and waterproof. Ask your lumber yard for marine-grade exterior plywood,
And number
the
if
only
they're cute.
kind that you should use for those many shelves and carpentry jobs aboard your boat. And even if you can afford to pay for all your maintenance, learn how
Don't.
to take care of emergency repairs yourself, and then do everything possible to foresee and prevent emergencies.
Sure.
The famous yachtsman William Edgar John has called the cost and effort of good maintenance the best insurance you can buy for uninterrupted hours of pleasure afloat.
That guy
A
famously
key
died at
to
sea.
new worlds of pleasure
Ironically.
on the water can be a trailer for your boat.
That contains broken cars and
Traveling
rednecks.
around the country recently while preparing my new book, Boating in America, I
It's a
passed
YA
trailer
thriller.
craft crossing
Yes, it is.
deserts, being towed through high mountain passes, and rolling rapidly along the plains. Many two-boat families
Our
may
stupid
have a
rich.
larger boat
True
at
that.
home, but have invested in a trailer and runabout rig for exploring distant waterways as well as winter vacation trips south. It is practical to consider trailer craft up to about 20 feet in length. Practical, that is, as long as your trailer is designed to carry the weight.
Steve,
Too often a boatman will match
you're
trailer
gonna
capacity to the listed weight of his
carry
boat.
weight.
Then he'll add an outboard motor and start piling in camping gear, water skis, fishing tackle, supplies, and extra cans of gas.
Beer.
Up
Oh,
goes
yes.
the weight, and the trailer may be dangerously overloaded. On the other hand, I know several skippers who
Little
take cabin
buddies.
boats on long trailer trips and sleep in the bunks aboard their boats, whether
Those are
they
the
are
divorced
afloat
men
or
we spoke of
ashore.
earlier.
A house trailer that floats is the result.
Well, I hope it floats.
It
When
better.
choosing a trailer, after you have decided on the true weight it's likely to carry, pick one that is ruggedly made and cradles your craft so that it is evenly supported.
Like a good spouse
A
should.
hull can be dented
Right.
or strained out of shape if it is only supported in 2 or 3 spots at bow and stern.
That's Howard Stern.
Discuss with your dealer a suitable trailer hitch.
A matchmaker?
Probably
No,
yours
Steve.
should
Oh,
be
okay.
bolted or welded to the car frame as well as the rear bumper. If you must frequently back your trailer down long ramps or through narrow openings,
Pay someone
technique
else to
you
do
will
it.
find
You're rich.
requires a good bit of preliminary practice in an open parking lot. It's a good trick to buy an extra trailer hitch and have it clamped on your front bumper.
Okay.
Then,
Wait, what?
once you've arrived at the launching site, you can unhitch your boat from the back of your car, fasten it to the front, and launch your boat while watching it through your front windshield, where you can clearly see what you're doing.
While following your boat
You
to a
must, of
watery
course,
grave.
have a safety chain for your trailer hitch,
Under the boat.
and you will need the proper lights. Turn indicator signals are required in some states,
Not in
as well as
Indianapolis.
auxiliary brakes for the trailer.
Just imagine the boat.
If you will be traveling long distances, a truck-type rear view mirror that projects far out to the side will give you a look behind your boat at traffic approaching from astern. Do not let the wheels and axle bearings of a trailer be submerged during launching if you can avoid this.
Don't worry, there's never water
When the
around
hot bearing
boats.
hits the water, it
If
tends
not,
to
just be sure
contract
you have your will
and cause
prepared.
a vacuum inside that sucks in water, even though the
Hey,
waterproof
Brian.
seal is in place.
You suck. Water, that
Check
is.
the bearings of your
Grow up,
trailer
Steve.
and
Sorry.
repack them with grease periodically, or have your local garage do it after every trip, and even more often if they show signs of overheating, or if you
If your
feel it
wheels
may
are
be
waving their
necessary.
hands in front of their face.
Properly lubricate the
Oh,
rollers
it's hot in here.
and any other moving parts as well. Get a spare tire for your trailer
Mini boaters
And
have
keep it
spare
mounted
tires
on
just
a
above their
spare rim.
waistline.
and ready for use.
Not
Don't
as
leave your
helpful, but
rig
still
unattended
good.
for too long a time without finding a way to lock your trailer hitch. Boats and trailers have been stolen.
And resold on eBay.
If you plan to head off through the woods or launch over marshy ground, 4 planks may make handy accessories. You can push your rig by hand along these improvised tracks laid on the soft ground.
What?
Roll back the length of the boards, then lay down the other pair,
Wood doesn't roll.
and soon you will have reached the water.
That's terrible
There
advice.
is now no place in the country that is more than a day's drive from boating water.
Unless you live in the desert.
That means that with a trailer, you can now become a sailor no matter where you live.
Okay.
It's seldom that you can start out on your own today and prove yourself a pioneer. But that's the challenge of skippering your own boat on a cruise. Now you put into practice everything you have learned about seamanship and navigation.
Seamanship.
And since it is a graduation test for the beginning boatman, you should be sure
or
of his
beginning Feldman,
experience,
or Kaufman, or
boat,
Wiseman.
equipment, and ability before he sets out. For first cruises, it is wise as well as more fun to travel with several other boats, and to always notify someone ashore where you are going, and when you are due, and when you will be back,
If you're pregnant?
no matter how much experience you have had. Remember, if you make a mistake, you can't walk home, so preparations are important.
Jesus?
Yeah.
Planning ahead is the key to cruising fun, and that means everything from food to foul weather gear. Dig out the
Chickens wearing
charts that
jackets.
cover your course
Yeah.
and plot out on
Look at
them
the charts, the pie charts,
the track
graphs,
that
Venn
you plan to
diagrams.
follow. Circle
For that
checkpoints
conditional
along the way,
formatting and
prominent
sales come in.
landmarks,
Right.
navigation buoys and markers,
Yeah.
and note down the approximate time you should pass each. In this way, you should always know just about where you are.
Wow.
Have your
Maps show
compass
you where you
rechecked
are?
to be sure it is really accurate. And even when the weather is fine, practice running compass courses
Weather, you looking
as if it
good.
were at night or in a fog. Study harbors where you will stop and select good locations to anchor. Your government charts will tell you how deep the water is
And how much
what
tax
kind of
you
a
owe.
bottom your anchor will touch.
Is it going to be a
If
soft
you'll
or
be running
firm
during
bottom?
hours of
Yeah, I don't know.
darkness, try to cover familiar waters at night and save new areas for daylight hours. Don't make a cruise an endurance contest either.
No fun.
Try to take turns at the helm with someone else during long runs, and plan your trip so that it is broken into short passages. Note down harbors along the way where you can duck in and anchor if the weather becomes bad.
Woohoo!
Here a radio telephone becomes a wonderful
wait,
accessory to tell
what?
friends ashore
A
that you
radio
have been delayed
telephone.
and not to worry.
Is that like a
For a
microwave?
cruise, you will need all your regular
Refrigerator?
basic equipment, only more so. Examine each item to be sure it is in good condition. This will also remind you where it is, in case you need it. Oceans have been crossed in rowboats, but they were hardly pleasure cruises.
A porthole means
If you have a
something
small boat,
different there.
limit your passenger list
Yes, it
to a
does.
number that will not overload or overcrowd the craft.
Yep, I've seen
Preferably
Titanic.
they should be congenial friends, who will still be fun to know after several days cooped up with them aboard during a rainy spell.
Yeah, but they're weird to look at.
Boating that is
Congenial,
wonderfully
not
relaxing for
conjoined.
adults can be
Oh.
boring for restless children.
Okay.
Arrange ahead of time for junior activities
Never mind that joke.
and stop-offs where they can go ashore for a change of scene.
And then leave them under the cover of darkness.
Food and
Right, with a
menus
stranger.
simple and plentiful. Even the smallest boat can carry a simple alcohol or kerosene stove, so there's no excuse to live on a diet of sandwiches.
Just take crackers and
Some
Dramamine.
meals can be pre-cooked ashore and packed in plastic bags or foil, ready for reheating.
Yeah, beef Wellington, for
Take
example.
along lots
great
of canned
example.
beverages and juices, as well as instant coffee, tea, and soup.
The hotter the soup, the better,
Disposable
because
paper
it never
plates,
spills
cups, and
on a boat.
utensils can greatly simplify galley housekeeping.
Yeah, and all those disposable things
Cans
make
with labels should be
trash.
identified on
Yep.
the top with grease pencil or nail polish.
Or lipstick.
Moist air makes paper labels fall off, and then eating from cans can become a guessing game.
Looks like it's beans and
Glass
pineapples for
jars and
supper.
bottles can break. It can be a little dangerous unless they are carefully braced in ice chests and lockers during rough going. And nowhere is careful, methodical stowage more important than on a boat.
Except
need to find the
grocery
bilge
stores?
Spare
And
prop
missile silos?
or engine tools in a hurry, you will want to know right where they are and be able to find them
No,
in
I
the
love
dark.
chaos.
And never forget you're out for a pleasure cruise. Should the weather be reported threatening, stay in port and head out another day.
Bully weather.
What sport other than boating allows you to combine so many hobbies and activities?
Gee, I don't know. Hiking?
Every year it
Camping,
becomes more
cycling,
popular because
yeah,
of
lots
the
of
many
things.
forms of fun that families are finding afloat. Let me suggest a dozen of
A
them for you.
dozen?
Have you been
This
fishing
guy.
with your boat recently? If not, find again this age-old restful sport. You can lie quietly at anchor,
Yeah, you can
patrol
also
for
lie
the fighting
anywhere.
fish, or travel to one of the many
I caught it and
seacoast
it was
centers
this
where you can
big.
charter an offshore cruiser and go out after the big ones. Do you use your boat for traveling? Rivers, canals, and inland waterways allow you to travel all over the country.
So do roads,
It is
but
even possible
whatever.
now to cruise to Canada, Alaska, Mexico, or the Bahama Islands in a well-equipped pleasure craft.
Business crafter Monday through
Put a
Friday
trailer under
only.
your
Of course,
hull,
8 to 5.
and you can cover miles of land as well as water. No need for your local waterways to become overly familiar.
And thus
For a
breed
change of
contempt.
seascape, you can drive to almost any water on the continent that is accessible by road,
So
then launch your boat,
all of it?
and off
Yeah.
you go.
All of it.
For fast fun right at home, try water skiing with a little instruction and a boat and motor that can pull you approximately 15 or more miles an hour. You can be up and gliding over the water.
Mm.
Notice that even the experts wear a safety belt in case they should lose their breath in a hard spill.
Plus, when you
Keep your
skip,
skiing
it looks
away from other
hilarious.
boats and swimmers. And with a driver plus observer in the towboat, you'll find a new kind of fun.
Voyeurism.
No
Yep.
need to even haul anchor to
I
amaze and
usually
amuse your
haul.
friends.
No.
Oh,
Don't overlook the advantages
You're no
of
fun.
entertaining afloat. Many boatmen have found that they get extra enjoyment lying at mooring, slip, or rendezvous harbor and visiting it with their friends, new and old. Landlubbers have no idea how easy it is to make friends afloat.
Especially when liquor is
One
involved.
skipper I
Yeah.
knew spent an
what's the difference
enjoyable
between a
summer with
boatman
his
and a
power
seaman,
cruiser,
by the way?
and none of the
I
guests he
have no
entertained
idea.
ever knew that
Okay.
the engine had been removed. For
They were all
traveling
held
with
captive
friends,
in the middle of
join
the
a
ocean
boat
for
club or
days.
power
We
squadron
laughed and
or
laughed.
boaticade.
The
It
USS
makes a good
Pirate.
introduction to
Right.
distance traveling over the water, and there are many other older skippers about
Older
for advice
buddies.
and a helping hand. If you'd like to compete against other boats, either in predicted log racing, where
Log
speed is not a
racing?
factor,
For the
or in
lumberjacks?
faster
I think
events,
it's when two
let
toilets
me
are side by
suggest you
side.
contact the American Powerboat Association, 2534 St. Alban Avenue, Detroit 7, Michigan.
Okay.
For the sailboat skipper,
Bon voyage.
get in touch with the North American Yacht Racing Union.
Where is that guy going? He's just talking about like traveling for days. You realize you have to go back at some point to where your car is.
Only if you're like, towing this gigantic thing on a 20-foot trailer with a hitch on the front as you
Right.
drive head first into the water.
But he's talking about like long travels, let somebody else drive for a while. It's like, how long you got to be on a friggin' boat?
Well, you can be on a boat for a long time, so I'm not gonna do that to him. But so in listening to this, he makes boating sound like it's 60% maintenance, 20% travel, then 10% planning, and then the other 10% is actually being on the boat and having fun. Why? Why do 90% stress
I know.
for 10%? And then he's like, even when you're on the boat, remember that it is dark out. You can't see crap.
Be aware of harbors that just in case the weather gets bad,
Yeah.
or if it's waters you're not familiar with.
Yeah, there's just so much going on there that is,
So like 5% of the time, all the stuff you do, you actually get to boat.
yeah.
The other time is checking out the weather, maintaining your boat, and packing food, and
Right. Or
labeling things with with markers.
practicing driving with your boat on a trailer.
Forwards and backwards.
Yeah. Steve, what's that classic joke about the two best days for a boat owner? Do you know it?
No.
Oh, the two best days for every boat owner are the day you buy your boat and the day you sell your boat.
Oh. But not in between.
No. Like the days in between are all the 90%.
All
of
this stuff. Maintaining, scraping, painting, staining. Now, I will say I bought a quote unquote boat this past year, and I have used it a few times, but it's a kayak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Simple piece of plastic. Put it in my truck, dump it in the water, let's go.
Kayaks and canoes are, I'm going to say, mo motors, mo problems.
Right. So we mentioned one there. So what else have we learned from this?
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, how much of this is fun? Like, this is boating. Boating is intended to be a freeing sport, and
Right, a fun sport. Right.
and I have seen people who truly love having a boat.
Mm-hmm.
Those people are called rich.
Or retired.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get in touch with us, finalword22@gmail.com. Stepping forward here, we're going to be wrapping up another season. We're going to try to throw in one more record.
Yeah.
Here
We're going to
soon.
try to do a Christmas thing, right?
Yeah,
Make it a VSE, a Steve and Brian very special episode.
right.
But anyway, thank you guys for listening. And as a reminder to everyone, not all records should be collected. Thank you.
Oh, hey, Brian, there was one thing you mentioned that I think deserves more attention, is his use of rubber caulk. I mean, personally, I've never used it before, and I don't know if I'd use the whole thing, but I'm still curious about it.
Oh, Steve, you should stop, buddy.
Why? I mean, rubber caulk sounds interesting. I mean, and while I can really imagine only one use for it, I mean, there has to be more, right?
Oh, Steve, don't do this to me.
What is your problem?
Oh, Steve,
Oh, no. The Final Word Podcast is written by Brian Mayer, Steve Beach, and Eric Evans. The podcast is distributed by Buzzsprout.